to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. My guest and I are so excited that you're joining us this week. So here's the deal. As you listen to the show, each week, I hope between my guests and I that we show you or illustrate to you that that word sales should not be anything icky, right? Or sleazy, but really we should be coming from love, care, and respect. And here's the other thing too, my guests and I know that change is everywhere and that we have to approach change with a positive mindset and approach. So to help you navigate whatever change you're going through in your life. In the show notes, I have my free communication style assessment. At the end of the day, here's the reality. No matter when we're facing change, whether we've chosen it or it's thrust upon us, there has to be an element of communication for us to navigate and make that transition, that change a little bit smoother and easier. So after you take the communication style assessment, you will get 2 reports. You really should understand just how does your communication land or how is your messaging received naturally without thought. You want to know that. But the flip side, when you communicate with people who communicate 180 degrees differently than you, really important that we understand that potential blind spot or your lowest score in the assessment, which is where I want you to kind of double down and read that with tremendous clarity, because that's where the magic happens. And that's where the change, you will be in control every time you have a communication and you're navigating whatever change it is for you. So that's my gift to you. And that's my message of the day for you. Now, my quote that I chosen for today, I just love it. And I hope you do too. It's by Mary Kay Ash. And she says, pretend that every single person you meet has a sign around his or her neck that says, make me feel important. Not only will you succeed in sales, you will succeed in life. If you guys have been following me or listening to me or clients, whoever you are, that you know me fairly well, you know that this quote just is such an excellent representation of how I've lived my sales career, but also my business for the past 25 years. Now, I remember, gosh, it has to be probably 30 years ago, early on in my career, I had a manager and he said to me once, have you ever met a person that you actually didn't like? And I was really taken back because no matter who I met, right, whether they were an internal partner, right, within the organization, or if they were a center of influence or they were a client or a prospect, I really did approach people from a place of kindness and love. So I really did like everyone. I think it's because I didn't judge and I still don't judge. I instead approach humans, other people, no matter personal or professionally, from a place of curiosity. And how can I potentially help them, serve them, right? Whatever it might be. So who's my guest today that we are going to talk about this loving environment that we need to start working from? Her name is Liz Wendling. Liz is the founder of the Sales Clinic and purpose-powered selling, a lot of P's in there. Liz is driven by the mantra, it's not what you sell, it's how you sell that matters. Now, Liz understands the sales challenges that all of us professionals face when selling in today's competitive environment. And she shows everybody how to make a profound difference in your sales approach, your sales language, and of course, even your sales process. So please help me welcome Liz to the show. Liz, thanks for being on.
Johnny, happy to be here.
Yay, yay, yay. So wait, I know you love that quote.
Yes.
Tell me why that quote resonated with you. It's like your mantra. That is my mantra, right? Of how can I serve? How can I love? Why did it resonate with you? I'm so curious.
Well, I remember hearing that quote 25 or longer years ago because Mary Kay Ash founded Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Yes.
And I remember people saying that that's who she was. The way she would come into a room and talk to people. And I admired that. I thought, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like you really have to go out of your way to pretend like you like people. But seeing video of her and watching her do it, it looked effortless. And it really can be effortless when you get out of your own way. That's how I see this, is that when you're not concerned about looking good or saying the right thing, and you show up and you're just seeing people for who they are and you value them for who they are and just appreciate them because they're breathing. It's so much easier than worrying about ourselves in that process. So
that's such a good way to look at it. It's funny. I remember, gosh, I was in my early 20s and we had this event or something, and I ended up sitting next to this gentleman, Jack was his name. And I have to tell you, I was a kid. He was an older man, and everybody at our table, he took an interest in every one of us. We were all younger. And I
Mm.
remember leaving that event and I said to one of my other colleagues, I think that's the nicest man I've ever met. And they said, Oh, Jack, you feel like you're the only person in the room. I said, Yes. How did he do that? And I have to
Yep.
tell you, that was my first exposure to make how someone else can make you feel so important. And here's the thing, everybody's like, oh, you were young. He did it with the
Yeah.
guys, he did it with the gals. It wasn't a flirtatious thing. He was just so interested in our families and who we were and the essence of our souls. And he made us feel really seen and heard, Liz. And I thought, I want to do that because that feels good, but it was so natural for him. It wasn't a pretense or a
Oh, yeah.
faking kind of thing.
Yep.
And I thought, I want to duplicate that. That's exactly what you just said, right? Show
Yeah.
up and just give over to who are you and how can I serve, right? That's
Right.
really what we're talking about.
Yeah. It's being interested in someone else. And you can tell when someone's really interested the way they lean in, the way they're seeing you. And it reminds me of a gentleman who's since passed, but he was 94 when he died. And I would go to this yearly Christmas party and he was always there. And Lou would always, Liz, how are your mom and dad? Hey, the last time I talked to you, you told me this. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's got an amazing memory too. But he would remember and he'd lean in and he'd touch you just gently, like, hey, I know you said your mom was sick. How's she doing? And first of all, it's shocking that somebody could
Shocking.
actually absorb in the way that he did and then reflect it back. It was beautiful to watch. He had been a pastor, so he just did this in the most beautiful way. And it was just so heartfelt. And there are times when I think, oh my God, I need a little Lou in me today. And I have to sometimes channel him because it's easy to kind of get stuck up in your head. You're
Yeah.
in a rush or you want to, get moving. But when you realize, I got to get out of my own head, out of my own way, and back in my body,
Yeah.
and I could do this stuff that Mary Kay talks about.
Yeah. And it's I think it's easier than being a fake or pretending
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
something that you're not. I listen, what you see is what you get with me. I share a really funny story. My niece, when she was in college, she needed an intern. She's in her 30s now, but she needed an internship. So I went to one of my clients. I said, "Hey, do you guys have an internship?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "My niece is looking HR, blah, blah." They go, "Oh yeah, of course, we'll take her." And I said to them, because she's going to work her butt off or I'll kill her, right? So that big giggle, right? She can't. Well, honestly, they said that she was the best intern that they ever had, which was really funny. But here was the
Oh,
thing: she was there happened to be in the training department. And so I went out and I said, "Can she sit in on one of my classes? I want to teach her." At the time, I was teaching the behavioral model disc. Now I have my own, but at the time it was disc. And so I remember she stayed, everybody left, right? And I was cleaning up the room and she said, "That was interesting." I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Well, it was Ann Khan, but like, you're really smart." Liz, it was I go, "What?" And she goes, "Well, it was you. You're a goofball. It was like Ann
yeah.
Khan up there." She goes, "But you know your stuff, Ann Khan."
Wow.
Was it? But can I tell you? And that I thought, oh, what a nice compliment. Because here's what I realized when she said that to me: you're one person, and if you show up and try to be something you're not, it's work, it's effort, and it's hard to keep up with that. Because if you're trying to be something for somebody else, right, that you're
Yeah.
trying to mirror them, it becomes inauthentic. But then if somebody else sees that inauthenticity, they think, ah, she's a big fake. So when you are who you are,
Yeah.
there's no pretense. And that's what Jack and that's what your friend Lou did. It was being really present with the people at that moment and not worrying about all the other noise at the party or whatever. And that's a skill, but I think everybody should develop that skill. We matter. We all matter, right, Liz?
Right. Yep. Big time.
Yeah.
As you get out of your own way and out of your own head, and how do I look? And if I say this, how is it going to come
Yeah.
across? And there's a way of being that becomes effortless
Yeah.
because you're not up here, you're really in your body and you're connecting in such a way
Yeah.
and conversing in such a way. Sometimes you look at the clock and go, oh my gosh, we've been on the phone 45 minutes. How did that happen? Because you lose track of time when you're not thinking about what to say next or what else do I need to bring up. There's
Yeah.
there's a and it's whether it's in sales or personal relationships, it's being in that process long enough where the magic happens. I don't
Yeah.
think the magic happens coming from your head. It's when two people are communicating from that place where you are heart to heart conversations.
I agree. It's so funny. I remember my husband had a conference. I've shared this story on the show before. He had a conference down in Florida. And so I went. I had friends down there and I said, well, you're doing your thing. Well, I'll rent a car and I'll go and I'll, meet my friends an hour, 2 hours, whatever. It didn't matter, right? He was in conference all day. Well, there was bad weather across parts of the United States. So they had paid for these beautiful steak dinners at this very high-end restaurant. They had paid in advance and now all these people weren't showing. So they said, invite Connie. So they invited spouses who came. Some didn't, but right, I was there. So this Nate was his name, who I just adore. He was the director of this non-for-profit that my husband was involved in. Anyway, meeting him for the first time, I said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for including me. I said, this is just such an honor. I mean, the food is delicious, right? We were chatting. He was going through divorce, had kids. He's a little younger than my husband and I. And so I was, again, curious as a mom and all the things he was saying. I was like, wow, you care so much. Trust me. He goes, I don't want my kids to be angry. And it was all about the kids. And I said, you keep doing what you're doing. Your kids are going to love you. You're not talking bad about your wife. Like, it sounds like it's an amicable. And we were talking, about a half hour went by and he looks at my husband and goes, she's a witch. And my husband looks at him and he goes, what? And I said, what? And he said, oh, I can't believe I've met you for the first time. And I just unloaded all of this stuff. And I said, look, I'm older than you. You're just sharing because you're feeling as a dad, and we're talking parenting, right? And I said, I'm so honored that you felt comfortable to share it with me. And I hope things that I said help. And he's like, I love you. He said, you're amazing. He goes, she's a witch. Well, fast forward, and there was no sales, right? I was just the wife
Yeah,
hanging out, whatever.
yeah.
Lovely meeting him, but he and I developed such a really nice connection. Ironically, about 7 months later, one of my colleagues, one of the CEOs of one of my banks, her son was graduating and he was in Utah, which is where Nate is. And I said, you know what, let me reach out to Nate. He's such a great man. I think he'll help your son network, whatever. I reached out to Nate and I said, listen, you don't have to do anything, but can he looked at your LinkedIn profile? He emailed, he goes, you send me the introduction. He goes, I'm going to meet this kid for coffee and see how I can help him. Again, it was nothing for me, but you see, he and I
Yeah.
forged this just loving relationship where it wasn't,
Yep.
we weren't looking for anything. And here I was able to help a young man. You see, these are the kinds of relationships. We talk about
Yes.
relationship a lot, but when you live and breathe it, no matter what the venue or environment is, and you just come from this place of love, care, respect, curiosity, I think that we serve each other and then we become another resource down the road. Not that was
Yes.
never my intent or his intent, right?
Yeah.
But here I was able to leverage it, right?
Yeah. And Connie, you created the space for him to be comfortable.
Yeah.
You did that. You might not have consciously said, let me make this comfortable for him.
No.
Who you are is that comfort
Yeah.
piece. And when
Yeah.
people feel that, they start telling you things, you go, oh my God, I can't believe he's telling me that. Or, wow, she's really oversharing. But you create that and they know you're that container, that you're not going to go out and go write a blog about them or
No.
tell everybody.
No.
It's in that space and you create that. And we could do that for everyone we meet.
That's the point. It doesn't matter. And see, it wasn't like, well, I'm going to get to know Nate because I might be able to use him down the road. It was
That's
just such a
right.
natural thing. And he
Yeah.
responded so lovingly because we connected as humans. It had nothing to do with what we did for a living or any of that stuff, right? We want to help these kids coming up, right? That's the parent in us that he
Yeah.
and that was really our connection, right? How we parented. So here's the thing, right? How do we acknowledge when we see good in the world? Somebody does something really nice. How can we respond in an effective way without trying to get something for me, right? That was a good example. Lou was
Yeah.
another good example, right? How do we do that?
The very first thing is to take yourself out of that acknowledgement. A lot of times I will hear people say, oh, I love what you did for me, or oh, I so appreciate what you did for me. And we make it about us. Yes, it is about us. Instead of you, Mary, you use their name, Tom, you made my day. You, not I. You
Ah,
are so special, or you are one of my favorite people on this planet. And of course it has to be real too,
Genuine.
instead of just saying, "Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you did." Mary, you're a gem. When you showed up at my house and dropped off that quart of milk that I needed, you surprised me, and it really touched my heart. Now that lands on Mary or Tom in a very different way than just saying, "I really appreciate you dropping that off for me."
Yeah.
It's changing how that acknowledgement lands on the other person,
Yeah.
and being so sincere about it. You made my day. You are so thoughtful. You are such a amazing friend in my life. So grateful to have someone like you who's helped me.
Yeah.
But
And you teach that words have power, right?
they do. Yes.
So
And
that's an example.
right. Same thing, Connie. I'll take it to sales is when someone says, "Oh, I'd love to get on your calendar. I'd love to show you my new product. I'd love to find a way for us to work together. I would love to do blank, blank, blank. I'd love to get a meeting set up with you." Now, who is that about?
Them.
That's about us. When we say
Yeah.
I would love says, I don't care what you want. This is what I would love. So it comes across as a command and a demand versus a
Mm,
request. So
mm,
if I said to you, Connie, "Oh, I'd love to get on your calendar. I really want to find out how I can get on one of your podcasts," versus, "Hey, Connie, what are your thoughts about possibly having a conversation about maybe swapping each other's podcasts?" I said, "How do you feel about that? Connie, what are your thoughts?
yeah.
What do you think about versus what I would love to do?" And we oftentimes take ourselves into all these situations,
Yeah.
and just doesn't land in the same way. Same way if I said, "Oh, Connie, I love your blouse. Tom, I love that tie." Okay, well, I'm not wearing the blouse and I'm not wearing the tie.
Yeah.
Instead, you say, "Oh my gosh, John, that tie looks fabulous with that suit." Or, "Mary, that blouse is perfect with your hair color." It's about Mary and her blouse, not me and what I love. And I would love if you, now that you know it, listen how much that gets dropped all over the world for everything. "Oh, I
Mhm.
love this house. I watch a lot of HGTV. Oh, I love this. Oh, I love that. I love that ceiling. I love that." And it just has no value anymore. We have dummied down that phrase and made it valueless. So it's about turning it onto the other person. "You look great. You look fabulous." Not, "Oh, I love how you look in that outfit." It's not
Yeah.
about us.
Yeah, or your home is beautiful. Your choices, you have beautiful
Yes.
taste. Oh my gosh, it's
Right.
exquisite, right? Right, that
That,
piano or whatever it is, versus I
yes.
love your piano. Wow, this is something to think about. So it's interesting because we do say, "Oh my God, I love that. Oh, I'd love to get on your calendar." I
Yep.
don't ever say that I love to get on your calendar. I'm too busy already, so I think I don't want to get on your calendar.
Or just anything. "I would love to have coffee with you," whatever it is.
Yeah,
It is, that's all about us. It's not an invitation.
you,
It's a command.
you know, it's interesting when I teach coaching. That's one of the things I say. You can't go in, "I saw you," right? Versus "you did." So we have to be careful. Like in the coaching, you don't want to point the finger of you. So then you do take the ownership and say, "I observed you doing blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
whatever. I observed a situation where I saw you talking to Mr. Smith. I
Sure.
have some ideas for you," right? That's a coaching perspective, taking the ownership because you don't want to point the finger. But
Right.
when we see someone do something really well, we want to make it about them, right? So that they almost, this is what I was visualizing, Liz, as you were saying that. You almost want them to sit up a little straighter and almost have the opportunity to pat themselves on the back, saying, "Oh, I do have good taste. Oh, I was
That's
thinking about
right.
that," right? That's almost, give them that space to feel that
Right. Where
compliment,
they go,
right?
"Yeah." And it lands differently. So if I said, "I love your hair," and you say, "Thank you," that comment goes nowhere. It's like, "Thank you. Okay, well, that's great." Versus, "Your new hairdo is phenomenal." It just changes
Yeah.
the way someone receives that. So I always encourage people, the next time you want to say "I would love" or "I love," change it and see what happens. Watch what happens to the other person and how you draw them in versus push them away. many times have you sent somebody an email and at the end it says, I would love to get on your calendar. I'd love to do this. I'd love to set up a time. And they blow you off. So you
Mhm.
send another email with some similar language in it and they blow you off again. Then you turn around and you go, can't believe someone would just blow me off like that and not even get back to me versus saying, I wonder if what I'm saying is not an invitation. It's not enough to get their interest. Maybe
Mm.
it's all about me and not them. But too much autopilot these days, Connie. Everyone's on autopilot and they're all saying the same thing and they're wondering why their results are not happening.
It's fascinating. The word but too, right? I know you've seen this. Like I'm talking to you and I go, oh, Liz, that was such a great idea, but my idea is better, right? Real, and you thought, yeah, that's what she really wanted to say. She really didn't give a crap about my idea. As soon as we use that
To
word
this.
but, everybody knows. So that's another word that a trigger, like I fill in the blank, but fill in the
Yep.
blank. Eliminate the word but. So I would say, hey, Liz, I love what you just said about Lou, period. I had a
Mhm.
similar experience with this guy, Jack, who just made all of us young people really feel seen and heard. See, it was different, but like mine was better. Jack was better than Lou. It's not a
Yes.
competition. It can be, it gives the space for us to both honor those experiences that were very similar and how we could teach that in this case on a podcast, right? That's the
Right.
idea of watching our words. I love that.
That's
And
right.
yeah,
And saying, I would love if for 21 days you leave that out.
I have to do
Completely
this.
leave that out. 21 days. Watch what happens when you want to say that. Oh, I would love this, or I love this. Take it out, turn it around. Your story about Lou really resonated with me. Not I love your story about Lou. Your story, the way you shared about Lou reminded me of something. So it's enough of a tweak where it changes the listening. It changes the way people start leaning into you. Otherwise, you
So
just sound like everyone else, right? You sound like
it's all the
everybody.
noise out there. It's
Yep.
so funny. So really what you just described as being present and listening, right?
Yep.
People allowing people to truly feel seen and heard. And we have we have the power to make that happen by tweaking that little habit. So guys, this
Yeah.
is your call to action. We're not even at the end yet, but eliminate that I would love or I love
Mhm.
the idea to, what do you think? Or,
Yep.
what's top of mind for you? Or what does your schedule look like versus me loving to get on your calendar,
Right.
right?
Because it should be an invitation into a conversation. I don't want to command you to meet with me. And when you say, I would love to get on your calendar, especially in the business world, what the other person hears is, sure you do, because I know you're trying to sell me something. But if you invited me, would you be open to hearing about, or what are your thoughts on? Now you're taking me into account and you're not trying to jam your product or service down my throat. I'm involved in this and I have a say one way or another. And people are actually telling you when they ignore you that how you just approached me doesn't work. Don't, and they're not consciously thinking,
No.
you don't like I would love. They're feeling the essence of your message. And your essence of your message says, this is how I want to run the show. I don't really care what you think.
Yeah.
So that's
It
behind that.
and it's funny, Liz, because think about it. Would you ever meet someone and think, oh, I'm going to come over, I'm going to meet you at your office on Thursday. We have more to talk about. Would you ever do that? I mean, to me, it's like so rude, right? It
Right.
versus, oh my gosh, there's something here. I'm just excited to meet you. You are really living and breathing everything I want my business to be. Let's say that was it.
Yep.
So right now you're opening the space to have a dialogue for the other person to say, why don't we get together for a cup of coffee? I really want to continue our conversation too.
That's it.
We
Yep.
feel we have to force the journey instead of letting it evolve
Yes.
naturally. It's a
Yeah.
control thing, maybe.
Yeah. And I also think it's a gigantic, an, in a way, an awareness thing. They don't even know. They don't even
Agree.
know. It's a
It's
blind
innocent.
spot that's
Yeah.
so big. But the moment you hear it, you can't unhear this. You can't unhear the fact that you are being self-serving, self-centered, and selfish. And I don't know anybody who says I just want to keep doing that. I don't care that I'm being self-serving.
Let's
I
hope.
love love and I love the word love and I'm going to use it. I don't care. Then go ahead and be self-serving. But when people really hear it in the way that you and I are talking about this today, and they don't want to be self-serving and come across as pushy, because I hear it all the time, right? In sales, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be salesy. Well,
Yeah.
you talk like that, you are being pushy and you are being salesy. So the very
Yeah.
thing you're trying to avoid is the exact way you're showing up.
Yeah. It's interesting. I did a Secrets of Santa sales workshop. It's cute.
Uh-huh.
And I use a little clip from the Miracle on 34th Street. And so this one bank out in Colorado, they were just lovely. So had 6 people come through. It was a lot of fun. So I was able to give them each, it was cute because I gave them each homework. The head of the division, she jumped on my calendar. I had given them my calendar link. I said, if you want me to talk about your communication style, 15 minutes, we could talk about it. I'll give you little
Mhm.
things that you could do to, apply with your clients. And so a couple of them jumped on, but this woman jumped on and I said, I apologize. Were you in the conference room? There was a bunch of people in a conference room. I said, I don't remember your name. And she said, no, she goes, I was popping in and out. I'm the boss. And I said, oh my goodness, I'm so excited that you took the CSA and that you wanted to talk about it. And as we were chatting, I said, oh my gosh, why don't we jump on? I said, again, up to you. I said, but who's on your team? And I asked my questions. And she said, would you be willing to talk to my team and help us strategize how we can coach down? And I says, oh my gosh, yeah, half hour. Why don't we get all of your direct reports and we can talk about, we'll play. Yeah, I go, let's get together and play. And I'm going to give homework. She goes, I know you gave them homework. I love that. Right. So we just hit it off. At the end, I said, listen, afterwards, if you think that I am a good match for what you're trying to achieve, it happens to be a credit union. He said, if you feel that there's something, let's talk. We could really strategize after. I could even give you more things to work on if you want to hire me. I said, listen, no pressure. That's not how I roll. She goes, I was already thinking about that. So you see how it was
Yeah.
about her, it wasn't about me. I'm going to do this,
Right.
but then you're going to hire me. It's no, I'm going to do this. I said, because then you really get the idea of what I do and how I do it. And then you could determine, is she a good match for what we're trying to build? Because if I'm not, then don't hire me, right? And I don't
That's
want to
right.
work with you. So
It could be
that's the
that
idea of
simple.
flipping it.
Yep. And another point that when I have a secret shopping business on the side, I secret shop law firms. So a law firm will hire me to get on a Zoom call with a divorce attorney, a bankruptcy attorney, a DUI attorney, and I pretend like I'm a real client. And then my name is changed, but I will go through the process with an attorney, and then I'll take notes on the good, the bad, and the interesting. But one of the biggest things I found is in a 45-minute consultation about my drug charge or a DUI or a divorce or a bankruptcy, they use my name once in 45 minutes. Once. They'll say, hi, Amy, nice to meet you. Not, so Amy, let's shift gears. Or Amy, we're at the point in the consultation where things can start to feel a little heavy. Amy, is there anything you want to address before we move on? At the end, Amy, it was such a treat to talk to you today. And check someone's name. You would, and I know it's not the old school use their name 27 times in a creepy way. I'm talking about in a really appropriate times where
Yeah.
you need to capture someone's attention again. I'd say, Connie, I know we're at the halfway mark, but there were 2 things you said earlier that I want to address, or whatever that is. It makes me, oh wow, I just heard my name. Now we're going to refocus. So
Personal.
that is one thing that people oftentimes, and I know they're not doing it on purpose, they're not trained enough to go, oh wow, I think I even forgot her name. One attorney had forgotten my name at the end of the
Oh,
consultation. Yeah. And I called him out on it. I'm like, do you remember my name? I said, if I and I saw him look at my name on the screen. And he goes, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And I said, because you acknowledged it, don't worry about it. Thank
he
you.
owned it.
Right. Versus saying, oh,
Yeah.
no, I just forgot it for a second. And I
Yeah.
really appreciated that because he showed me that he was human too.
Yeah. That's
But
right.
so the thing about all of this make me feel important. If you can only just start with using someone's name, you're going to be miles ahead because most people don't.
Two good tips. Use the people's name. And again, not, hi, Liz. How are you, Liz? What's going on, Liz? Oh, Liz, I'm so excited you're on. Right. Okay. Vomit. That was disgusting. Right. So
That's right.
yes, I agree. And the other one is flip it from the I to the you. Love it. Let my last question, because we're out of time, but I do want to talk
Okay.
about gratitude. How do you help your clients not just say, hey, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for blah, blah, blah. Right.
Mhm.
How do you really make a difference and have the other person feel that it's not just lip service, right? It's not just I'm going through the motions.
Well, we had touched on this a little earlier. It's to use their name, of course, and then be very specific in what they did for you. Or instead of saying, I appreciate your business, you could
Mm,
say, thank you so much for trusting me.
yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to handle your divorce. And
Yeah.
all right, so that's what you handled it. So you did it with the actual service and then you said it. But I have a lot of my clients send a card, an actual physical card to 30 days after someone gets divorced or their bankruptcy is complete
Yeah.
or their personal injury case is settled or their DUI is done, whatever it is. And it's a handwritten card from the attorney. I have to practically break arms to get people to do it. But once the managing partner buys into this, handwritten note that says, I know it's been a month or 45 days, whatever it is. And I know it was a bumpy ride, or I know we ran into a couple of pitfalls, or that was the easiest divorce I've ever had. But I just wanted you to know that myself and my firm were thinking about you and thinking good thoughts. All the best. Not, hey, did
Lovely.
I get a referral? No. It was such a beautiful gesture.
Yeah.
A handheld card. It's not one of those ones that's written by someone else.
Yeah.
And it could be something as simple as that. Or when someone's leaving at the end of their divorce and all the paperwork is signed, is maybe having a little parting gift or just something, a little box of chocolates that says, I'm so glad we got through this together, or you and I worked really well together. And I want to
Yeah.
thank you. I know this wasn't easy. So it's not just saying, thank you, appreciate your business. There's just a little bit more we can infuse into that. And every business
Mm.
is different, but it's doing something just a little bit special.
Liz, what you're saying is, how about being really kind? Just being kind and acknowledging that even as, business owner, right? If or a bank or credit union that I work with, I know they're afraid sometimes to ask the questions, especially if they live in town and they see the people at the food store. They don't want to come across as pushy. You shouldn't come across as pushy. You have to come across as I'm here to serve you, in my case, right, with financial matters. Right. But it's got to have that essence of I'm not looking for business. I'm not looking for referrals. I truly care about you. And here's the thing. I believe this with my soul. If you don't care about the clients, either you're in the wrong business or you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. Go find
Mhm.
a computer job where you could talk to a computer all day. You have to
That's
have some emotional connections with those you serve, especially if you're
Mhm.
service-based, right? But even if you're
Yeah.
selling a product, who's the client who's going to buy from you? What are they buying that gift for? Who is it for? There's got to be an emotional connection. I think there has to be an emotional. I'm not saying be all touchy feely either. Be like, oh,
Oh,
con,
no.
what about
Right.
business and making money? You make
Yeah.
more money through kindness, I think, than just crossing T's and dotting I's. I don't know.
Completely. No, I completely agree. And then when you do the surprise things, the surprise gestures, so I'll put a note in my calendar 66 days after somebody finished their training with me. And I'll send them a message. Hey, it's been 66 days since the last time you and I hopped on a Zoom. My goal is to see if you need a tune up. Is there anything that you're falling back on that you want to hop on a Zoom call, maybe recreate it together? Anything you're stuck on, this one's on me.
I love it.
And they are shocked when I do that. And to me, it's like it's so much fun doing it because I would want that done to me. I would want someone to know that I may still be struggling. I learned a whole new skill set and I may be falling back into bad behaviors.
Yeah,
But
that's
you
right.
just reached your hand out to me and
Yeah.
grabbed me back in. And maybe they're doing great. Sometimes they're like, no, I'm perfect. But I'll be in touch. And then I make another note. So I that's my personal way that I like
I
to do.
love that.
and it works for me. And sometimes people say, "Oh my God, you must have been a fly on the wall. I was just talking about you. Could we hop on a call?"
Yeah.
And it works. And I do it not because I have to do it. I want to do it.
Yeah.
It makes them feel like I care about them because I do.
Yeah, it's follow up. But here's the thing, everybody goes, gotta follow up. Yes, you do have to follow up. I am a pit bull when it comes to follow up, but you have to follow up from a good place. And I love that that 66 days touching base. This one's on me. Do you need a quick tune up? Because what happens as they're developing skills, you know what happens, Liz, right? And we know this. It's
Yeah,
like, uh-oh, now I have this skill because our blind
right.
spots are addressed that we start to say, uh-oh. It's like, when you go, oh, I have to paint. You paint the room and you think, oh, the carpet looks terrible. Oh, now the couch is very worn out. You started with painting a freaking wall and now you're redecorating. It's the same thing with our skill
Very
development.
true.
And
Great
as you develop
analogy.
skill, you see the next skill you have to learn. And Liz
Right.
might be the answer. Connie might be the answer.
Yep.
Joe might be the answer, right? But you got to be in the game.
Yeah.
You got to be in the game.
Yep. And for people to start small. So if anybody's going, "Oh my God, these ladies are crazy. I don't want to be that nice," or "I don't do this, do this." It's so simple and it works. Is for the next, I don't know, weekend, to do it over the weekend. Every time you see someone that you want to acknowledge, instead of saying, "Love your sweater," or that you're in the supermarket and somebody helps you with something, say, "You are so generous," or "Your hair is fabulous." Say it 5 times to someone. "Your car color is amazing," or
I love it.
"That's a beautiful color car." Not "I love your car," or "I love the." 5 times. That's it. And watch how it lands. See, that's the trick. It's not just what you say, it's how it lands.
Love
That
it.
car color. And I did this the other day. This guy drove up in this like reddish cranberry. And I said, "That car color is striking." He goes, "I know. It's only a week old. And I can't believe I'm driving a car like this." And you could tell he was excited versus me saying, "Hey, I love the color of your car. Thanks." And there's nothing, no energy just exchanged.
I
So
love it.
it's so easy. And anybody, if you're that lazy and you can't do what I just said, then you have no business making connections with people. That's it.
You're
Go
living
ahead,
under a rock. Liz, I
don't be
love
lazy.
and that's a really tangible thing to do. Good call to action. And here's the thing. It's like I say, right at the end of every show, information's a beautiful thing. They learn that. But now if you do nothing with it, you're not going to change. You're not going to have the opportunity to see how someone reacts in
Yes.
real life
Yes.
when you flip that script to the you versus the me, right? The
Yeah.
versus the I. Such an easy, tangible thing. That is the call to action for today.
Good. Good.
Additionally, we're out of time, but here's the deal, guys. Please reach out to Liz if you have any questions, and definitely check out her website. It's lizwendling.com. I will put it in the show notes, or email
Thank you.
her, Liz, Liz, at lizwendling.com. Again, I'll put all that in the show notes. Liz, as always, a fun, energized, loving conversation with you, girlfriend. I love it.
Thank you, Connie.
Yeah, we're two peas of a pod, two peas in a pod. I think philosophically we approach life, but business and sales
Yes.
especially. I think I said this to somebody recently. I said, oh my gosh, sales, it's like the best job in the world. We get to meet people and talk to people and learn. I go, I learned so much every time I talk to someone. But see, that's
Yeah.
a curious approach versus, can I make a sale from you? What can I get from you? I don't ever
Right.
look at humans from that perspective. It's always this curiosity of what can I learn from them that maybe I don't know about, right?
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
being curious. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And flipping the I to the you, compliment. Do it this weekend. That is your job.
Easy peasy. Thank
Easy
you,
peasy.
Connie.
Thank you, my friends. As
Okay.
always, a great show. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together. No matter where you are on changing your sales game, I really hope today, Liz and I, our stories, our ideas, the three call to actions that Liz gave you, every one of them are easy. The thank you card, the flip in the I to the you. And the other one was, there was one more, Liz.
Is to, or over the weekend, say, compliment people. Your car,
Compliment, the
your hair,
gratitude, but
your, yeah.
sincere.
Yes.
There's your 3 easy calls to action. That is your homework. Liz, thank you for being on, and thank you all for joining me on Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I love you all, and I really am honored that you join me weekly, and I truly hope that my guests and I inspire you to create the change that you're looking for, and whatever that is in your life, career, life, business, personal, etc. My guests and I are here for you. Again, check out Liz's website, and I hope it helps you create a little more ease and grace in your life. I love you all, everybody. See you next week. Thanks, Liz.